We have Patrick Tuohey with the Show Me Institute in studio on KCMO Talk Radio 95.7 FM. We're always streaming on the KCMO Talk Radio app. I just got a text here I want to read on the text line, which is 913-408-7957. Hey, Pete. Vacationing from KC and Cape Cod and listening to you guys loud and clear on the app. Cape Cod. Patrick Tuohey, you ever been there?
I went to school in Boston. I've got family from all over that area. I love it. A few years ago, I went out to Massachusetts with my daughters, and we went out to P-Town, Provincetown, at the end of the Cape, and it was a show. Lots of great people watching, and anyone who's familiar with P-Town knows exactly what I'm talking about.
Yeah, were you in your man thong out there?
Oh, no. You know what was amazing? There were so many bachelorette parties at P-Town, and you could see, my daughters and I are walking, the looks of derision and hatred on the face of the regulars in P-Town at these giggly, loud, obnoxious...
Well, that's a good place to go if you don't want to get hit on by creepy guys, because it's a big gay place.
Well, these women could have been hit, if not hit on. I mean, just kind of like the stereotypical bachelorette party. I think when we were in Cape Cod, we saw maybe 5 or 6 of them. It's a... I'm sure the locals are happy for the revenue, but they just hate that crowd.
That's good money, though, like you said. All right, places that are not producing any dollars. Sunfresh now closed at 31st and Prospect. The story's actually gotten national attention because of the stories out of New York that the leading mayoral candidate wants to basically have city-run grocery stores. So what's your take on what happened here yesterday?
May I read something I wrote 10 years ago in 2015? Once again, Kansas City leaders are embarking on an expensive and ill-considered campaign using public funds that does not address the real underlying problems. When it fails, the city and its residents will be no better off than before, just poorer. And the infrastructure, crime, and education issues that really need to be addressed will be much worse. I wrote that in 2015 in a column about the Sunfresh grocery store. Everyone knew this was a bad idea. The politicians were misleading themselves or lying to their constituents or just not thinking about it at all. But everyone, even the Kansas City Star editorial board, as you pointed out earlier, said this is not going to work, or there's a slim chance it's going to work. And this is what happens when you get politicians, political leaders who either don't understand free market, don't care to understand it, or who think that kind of top-down central planning can solve problems. It cannot. This is a nightmare, and I saw it coming, and a lot of people saw it coming, and the idea that the mayor was saying maybe last week or the week before he still wanted to salvage it, this is horrible. This is absolutely horrible. There are no winners out of this, and I don't know that the city has learned any lessons, to be honest with you.
So let me just play devil's advocate, even though I agree with everything you're saying, but just for a second.
Sure.
Is it possible that this disaster of an experiment at the Sunfresh got expedited by the fact that 2020 happened, we lost hundreds of cops in this town, and law and order went out the window?
Yes.
Is it possible that it would have had a chance had the law and order issues not really exacerbated themselves the last few years?
So, I think we've all learned about Maslow's hierarchy, right? The psychologist or sociologist who developed this kind of triangle, and at the bottom is safety and security, and then that builds upon until you get to self-actualization. Any city policy, in order for it to work, assumes that the basic services are being provided. Public safety and infrastructure. You need roads to get there, and you need the place to be safe. That's the bare minimum. Now, once that's provided, the policies on top of that, like a free grocery store, may work, may not work, right? You can talk about the economics of it and things like that. But if you don't provide those basic things, nothing works. And what happened at this grocery store is the city did not provide the basic public safety. You talked about going to the grocery store with your children a few minutes ago. The safety and security that you assume going to a Hy-Vee or to an Aldi, anywhere else in the metro area, was not provided there. Of course it was going to fail. Of course it was going to fail. Now, you can say that the millions of dollars spent on these subsidy regimes maybe played a small role in gutting the police. You can say that the same people who thought that funding a grocery store was a good idea were so bad at policy that they didn't realize that policing is important. But we can all agree, conservatives and liberals, that there are things that government must do. national defense, the courts, justice system. But they're not doing it. They're not doing it in Kansas City, so nothing was going to succeed there. And even in the best of circumstances, I would argue that a city-run grocery store is a sketchy idea.
Mm-hmm. Patrick Tuohey, Show Me Institute, is on KCMO Talk Radio. So, how about the Frank White recall election? It's going to happen for Jackson County voters on September 30th. That's a Tuesday. I mean, I think it's pretty much a slam dunk. He's toast. How about you?
Yeah, I can't imagine a situation in which he's not evicted. What's the word? Recalled. Thank you.
He was evicting other people with his bad policy. That's what led to the recall.
However, and that's a great point. So people are upset about housing assessments. You know, the people funding the campaign are upset about him not bowing down to the teams, to the Royals and the Chiefs. But I have no confidence, and nobody's even tried to argue that if and when Frank White is removed, that any of those issues are solved more competently than Frank White would have. Right, so we get rid of him. I presume the legislature is going to pick from among themselves to serve as the acting county executive. That's quite a gaggle of people.
A murderer's row of morons, as far as I'm concerned.
So I don't know that they're going to be in a position to negotiate a better deal for taxpayers. On the other hand, I can't imagine whoever is in that position, who's going to be there because of their political ambition, is going to be willing to make their first act as county executive to roll over for the Royals, right? So the Royals may want to get rid of Frank White, but I don't know that means that the replacement is going to want to be a patsy, right? Because you kind of want to demonstrate that you represent Jackson County taxpayers. It was a 16-point blowout a year and a half ago. And then the other thing is I have no confidence, no information that getting rid of Frank White is going to change anything about the assessment office in Jackson County. The assessment office in Jackson County has been a mess for long before Frank White got there.
The first thing you do is you fire the assessor, Gail McCann-Beatty, right? You do that first off. You cut the deal and you stop using Tyler Technologies out of Texas, who, did some shady things with those assessments. I mean, those are the first two things you do. You at least, I don't know, to me, you get justice for the people who have been royally hosed in this process the last multiple cycles. But you're right. I understand the broader point there. The Royals issue is still, to me, that they've got 3 final locations as far as we know, and 2 of them are terrible locations: Washington Square Park and Overland Park.
Do we know the locations? Is this breaking news?
Well, no. I mean, it's the 3 that we've talked about. Overland Park, the Hesperia campus, Washington Square Park, and North Kansas City. And 2 of those locations, as far as we can tell, are just hot garbage locations.
Yeah, I
so they don't have a place, they don't even have a place to go. Forget the politics of Jackson County. They don't even have a decent place to go right now.
No, it's a nightmare. Maybe they think we're just going to get rid of Frank White, call it a win, and then we'll come and go downtown or stay somewhere in Jackson County. It's head-scratchingly bizarre. Again, I've said before on this station and elsewhere, I want to read the book in 8 years about all this that talks to the people behind the scenes.
You're going to write the book, right? You're a writer.
None of these people want to talk to me. But I want to read the book because this, from the outside, seems like such a spectacular series of self-owns and fumbles and unforced errors. I'm not good at sports analogies, but you get it. Like
You got a good one in there. A couple good ones.
Such a nightmare that it's going to be a page-turner if it's honest, because I don't think anyone, let me put it this way, no one has demonstrated to me that anyone in the Royals organization knows what they're doing. They've shed some people since the vote a year ago, some prominent people, and maybe they're all brilliant and doing all sorts of great work behind the scenes, but I don't think so. I see no evidence that they know what they want. And I think when they're looking around at the different sites that you described and maybe some others they considered, they realize they do not want to leave Jackson County because these other opportunities present risk, a lot of cost for themselves to bear, and having to go through the vote of Clay County, a more conservative county than Jackson. If I were them, I wouldn't be confident that any of these other paths are viable. So again, I don't know. I have no insight. Nobody's whispering in my ear. I'm just like your listeners, kind of reading as much as I can. And I don't see the there.
You agree, though, last thing here, that Frank's recall has nothing to do with him being against the teams.
No, I don't agree with that. I think people are going to vote on housing and the assessments.
Correct.
The people who funded the campaign that got us here, absolutely, it's about the teams, the Royals, the stadium.
Who?
Well, the heavy constructors and the organizations around that. All the people that Quentin Lucas solicited secret money from so he could go to Super Bowls and buy tuxedos and stuff like that. All those people are kind of a cabal that want to get rid of Frank White. They raised a bunch of money. They called me, incredibly, trying to raise some money. So we are here because of the stadiums. Now, where we go from here...
But the regular people were caring about their assessments, not the stadiums.
Yes, I think so.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I think that's right. But again, the important part is they wouldn't have gotten here by themselves.
Yes.
The fans of
Someone's
the
got
teams
to fund
bankrolled
it. Someone's got to fund it. You're right. It's not... Everyone likes to talk about grassroots. Most things grassroots fail. They need money behind them. You're right about that.
Yeah.
Good stuff.
Big dark money. Thank you so much.
Dark money. Patrick Tuohey on KCMO with the Show Me Institute. 3 questions on a What If Wednesday we'll get to next on KCMO.